Well, a bit different this time. The reason being is this afternoon I'm being taken out. Not very far, only to a shop because they think I would like to see the Christmas stuff. Okay, we'll go along with that, won't we? Don't want to tread on any toes. Not the best day for it, but we'll give it a go, see what happens. I just wanted to mention today about coincidences. I was thinking of I was thinking of one last night, and that brought another one back to mind. I don't know how many years ago, 30 I suppose. I was in Nuku'alofa doing some work for P&O. They had a bit of a problem with the North Channel buoy, which keeps moving around, which is not a good thing when in the dark. With all the radar in the world, big ships like to be able to follow a light towards the wharf apron, and that hasn't been happening. Anyway, along with the port agent, I saw the authorities, all the rest of it, made the threats we won't be coming back unless you fix it, and it was going to be fixed within the week, which actually it was, so it did some good. Anyway, after that, Lockie and I went down to, forget the name of the beach, but behind it there's a bar. Sometimes touristy, not many locals get in there. But we breasted the bar and had some cold lagers. It was a stinking hot day, and I was in uniform. Why, I can't remember. I think it was at captain's request because I was representing the company on that day. So the hotel that actually owned the bar also had some questions. There was a cave on the property known as Hino's Cave. She was some sort of a goddess of something or other, I don't know. Got to remember, 150 years ago they were all cannibals. Then the missionaries got there and stuffed the whole thing up. So I just suggested, why don't they clean out the interior, make it a bit more presentable, don't worry about the floor, put in some lights, put in a bar, put in a good sound system, and turn it into a nightclub. And this was going down very well. We even, on the back of coasters and bits of paper, tried to do some sort of a study into profits over a 1 year period. We didn't bother to go to the usual 5 years. That seemed a bit premature under the circumstances. Anyway, further down the bar there was an attractive young lady. Well, she wasn't that young, she was my age. And she was giving me the most filthy looks under the sun. And the face was familiar. You know when you remember somebody from a long time ago? Anyway, we're talking away. And the next thing, this female thing's between Loki and I. And she said, "Still making trouble, are you?" And the face didn't connect, but that bloody voice did. Her name was Faith Grant. And the last time I saw her, we were both 11 at Mile Common Primary School. And she was a virago even then. She ruled not just the girls' side of the school, but the boys' side as well. She wasn't a bully. She just had very set views on things. And I had heard that she went on to, all this tree hugging, save the whale, which I believe in, but also equal pay and anything she could protest about. So we had words. I mean, it's a long time. She was 11 last time I saw her. She must have been in her 30s. And we took off where we caught up where we left off, because on the last day of that school at Mill Common, she told me off for encouraging one of the girls to climb a drain pipe with me, and hang by the guttering, much to everybody's amusement down below. And here it was, she was doing the same thing all over again. Thank God she was flying out that night. I went back to, I think it was the Sea Princess. No, it couldn't have been. Oriana. And saw a plane zip off and a great weight was lifted from my mind. Anyway, I went back as far as Suva in the Oriana. I had some stuff to do there as well. And that was the end of that little episode. Now the second one happened to a very good friend of mine. Nice chap. You like him. And the ship was in Shanghai over Christmas. Great place, Shanghai. It was never that communist. They hated Beijing and Beijing hated them. And we were at the Can-Can-Do Club, one of Jassie's clubs. He had two, one in Shanghai, one in Hong Kong. And at about 1:45, the crew presented me with my Christmas present, which was one of the girls for the Christmas period. I don't know what they were thinking. They thought it was something unique, shall we say. Anyway, I couldn't refuse. I mean, these girls were high-priced. And she was English. Most of the girls there were English, American, and a few Scandinavians. There were no Chinese at all. Well, in fact, there were no Asians at all, except for a couple of Indian girls. Anyway, so it got to the talking stage and drinking together stage, and then it was time to leave. She was dressed in a very, what would I call it, minuscule Santa Claus outfit, which I have a photograph of here, but of course I can't show it because I've got no editing of the two of them in in the club. So before she left, she said cheerio to one of the other girls who was soon to be leaving, and I heard the word Kennards mentioned, and Christmas. Now Kennards was a big shop, not like the ones today, but still a very big shop in Croydon. I used to go up there a lot when I was a lad. Skip school there a lot too. And when we were in the taxi heading for the Park Hotel, where we had a very nice room for 2 or 3 nights, I can't remember, let's see, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and she had to be back at the club afternoon on Boxing Day, so 2 nights. I heard her again use the word Kennards. I think it was still to me because I'd asked a question earlier and she was telling me about it, and I said, I know Kennards very well. It used to be the capital of Surrey, and it's now part of Greater London. And after much discussion, it turned out that she used to go to a fish and chip shop, which I knew very well, called, oh God, the Ultimate Hygienic Fish and Chip Shop, or something just as stupid. But it was very good tucker, or so I'm led to believe. So they talked about this, and it turned out that they had lived only 40 miles away from each other all their life. Both went to the same fish and chip shop of a Saturday. Had been to the ABC Theatre in Croydon, the same as my friend. What did we say? Cliff Richard and the Shadows. Couldn't give a stuff about Cliff Richard, but the Shadows were a great guitar group. I don't know if you know them these days. I don't think they ever went to America. They might have. Hank Marvin, the leader, he won the World Championship guitar playing about 3 years running, and that's from 4-string bass up to 12-string acoustic classical. He was great. Anyway, once we got back to the hotel, we had a few drinks in the bar and went up to the room, all the usual palaver, and we started chatting about Croydon, and about they started chatting about Croydon and Surrey and all the places both of them knew. And everything sort of changed. I mean, she wasn't one of Jassie's girls anymore. She was almost a friend from the past. What she was actually doing was she'd just finished her second year at university studying to being an architect, and she was taking a year's gap to earn enough money to pay for the third year, and this is the way she was doing it. Clever girl, very clever girl. And of course Jassie's was totally safe. I mean, she was north of England, Birmingham, something like that, and a good friend, and she looked after them very well. So over the weekends, Christmas Day didn't mean anything in Shanghai really. A few of the shops were done up, and of course the hotels, which catered a lot for Westerners in those days, were also done up. And we went out, did some shopping. She bought me a key ring. I don't know why, but it was 24 karat gold. And it had the word ship's ignition engraved on it. I forget what I gave her. I think it was a necklace or some drop earrings or something, all from the same jewellers. Christmas Day we had huge lunch, went dancing in the afternoon, had a lighter evening meal, then went dancing again at night, then went back to the room. And nothing happened. By this time they were such old friends that the original, what would you call them, call girl client, that was out the window. So lots of drinks, they both fell asleep. And the next day, of course, actually her name at the club, it's coming back to me, was Cherry Lane. They gave all the girls funny names. But I remember her I didn't remember her. When she told me the name, I remembered her older sister. It was Rogers, and she was Caroline Rogers. Forget it. And her elder sister was Mavis Rogers. So there you go. A girl from primary school turns up in a bar on a beach in Nuku'alofa and keeps yelling at me the way she had 20 or 30 years before. And then the crew gave me a very nice young lady, gave my friend a very nice young lady as a Christmas present, and nothing happened because it turned out they were from the same place, and it was almost like old friends together. So that was about it. Coincidences, you must all have them. These things happen all the time. Of course, luckily there are only two, because in those days 3 coincidences at sea were the worst possible luck you could have, but we only had the 2, so that's good, isn't it? Now, I know that wouldn't have been to everybody's taste, but it was all perfectly innocent, nothing happened. And you have to remember, we didn't work in offices. It was a different world entirely to the one that most people grow up in. And if I had to go back, I would do exactly the same again. Any questions? If you do have questions, just put them in there. I have a lot of time up my sleeve. I don't go back for 2.5 weeks. This time it's to oncology to continue some treatment from before. So that usually takes about 2 weeks, and then I come home and they do it from home. And then it'll be Christmas. I wonder what Cherry Lane's doing this Christmas. Building bridges, railways, multi-storey office blocks, or sitting at home with 6 kids, putting on a lot of weight and remembering that night in the Can Do Club in Shanghai, but I doubt it. Anyway, I do have a photograph of that. I just wish I could post it. If I could edit, I could get it up there. There's a few there that need to be with these stories. I'm rambling again, aren't I? I'm just trying to keep out of my brain the fact that I have to go to a shop today and look at Christmas stuff. Love Christmas stuff. But it's not the same like this. Not the same. But there's a chance I might even get a drink. No. Too much to hope for. Anyway, send in your coincidences. I have plenty of time up my sleeve. In the meantime, behave yourself. Or not. According to how the mood takes you. Cheers.